Today on thetruthAboutCars.com, we are out here taking a look at the absolutely gorgeous 2016 Jaguar F-Type. Now this particular model is the Jaguar F-Type S with the all-new 6-speed manual transmission. Although the 2016 F-Type doesn't look that much different than the 2015 F-Type, Jaguar has made some decent changes for this model year. We now get all-wheel drive available on the S trim, and both versions of the V6 model have a manual transmission as standard. You actually have to pay $1,300 now in order to get the 8-speed automatic transmission. In addition, the 495 horsepower V8 engine is gone, and the R model is now available as a convertible, and it has all-wheel drive standard. Yes, you heard that right. The top-end performance version of the F-Type is now all-wheel drive only in both convertible or coupe form. That's quite a bit different than what BMW has been doing with their M models. In terms of the competition, the F-Type is longer than the SLK or the BMW Z4, and it's actually right about the same size as a Porsche 911 Carrera. Now that 911 Carrera has a very, very different profile. I actually think this is considerably more attractive, and it's all because of this very, very long hood up front. Out back, the sexy lines continue with these very strong haunches that go towards the rear, and this very distinctive hatchback look that we get on the F-Type. Of course, if you get the convertible version, then we have a slightly more traditional flat rear deck, but I actually find that a little bit more attractive. Now, this section of the rear is actually a pop-up spoiler that activates right around 65 miles an hour or so. Under this very shapely hood, which coincidentally finally opens the right way around in my book, you will find two basic different engines. We have a 3-liter supercharged V6 in two different tunes, either 340 or 380 horsepower. The model we're taking a look at is that 380 horsepower version. Or we have a 5-liter supercharged V8 making 550 horsepower in that R model. For 2016, both versions of that V6 now come standard with a 6-speed ZF-sourced manual transmission. You have to option $1,300 up in order to get the 8-speed automatic transmission. Now you can get all-wheel drive with the 380 horsepower tune, but it does require that 8-speed automatic. The 5-liter V8 version is 8-speed automatic and all-wheel drive only. Fuel economy is a little bit disappointing for a vehicle that is this aluminum intensive in construction and this slippery in terms of aerodynamics. It starts out at 19 miles per gallon combined if you get the manual transmission of that base V6 engine. It actually goes up to 22 miles per gallon combined if you pay $1,300 and get the 8-speed automatic transmission. As with any vehicle in this segment, the ride height of the F-Type is quite low, which means we get a fairly high sill here to climb up and over. Fortunately, these seats are very comfortable, and there are several different seats to choose from. Now, the one that we're taking a look at right here has a headrest that I dislike a little bit. It's not quite adjustable, and you can tell it seems to be designed for a slightly smaller driver. Now, one little quibble about this particular model, which is the 6-speed manual, is that the footwell is a little bit too small for my tastes. Now, I wear a size 11.5 to 12 shoe depending on the shoe, and sitting in the correct position in this vehicle, my left foot doesn't really have any clearance between the wall of the vehicle and the clutch pedal, which means I can't actually use that left side footrest. Now, the other pedals are also quite close together, so the accelerator pedal and the brake pedal, very, very close. It's actually a little bit easy to hit them both with the same shoe unless you have your right foot placed all the way against the tunnel, scraping the carpet as you use that accelerator pedal. If you have larger shoes, this could definitely be a problem for you. On the flip side, things are spaced out a little bit better in the automatic transmission version, and in terms of height, the footwell definitely can accommodate much larger shoes. We of course have an electric tilt telescopic steering column that is memory linked. The driver's seat has a 3-position memory with this multi-way adjustable functionality, and the passenger seat also has the same range of adjustability as the driver and 3-position memory as well. Out here on the small winding mountain road, the F-Type is an incredible amount of fun. But this is also a car that does very well for itself out on a large highway because the ride is actually pretty good for a sports car. That's all down to the active suspension system that we get in the F-Type. It allows you to adjust between two modes, standard and dynamic mode. Dynamic mode also opens up the exhaust valves to give you a little bit more engine noise. And engine noise is something that the F-Type does incredibly well, whether we're in the supercharged V6 or the supercharged V8. And that's all down to the supercharged engine design. Superchargers don't interfere with the exhaust noise of an engine like a turbocharger can, so we get really unadulterated exhaust noises out of this car. Acceleration is excellent in the F-Type. It ranges from 5.5 seconds in the base model with the manual transmission to right around 4.7 seconds 0 to 60 with the 8-speed automatic transmission and the optional all-wheel drive. Now that is the downside for manual traditionalists out there, is that the manual transmission is actually the slower transmission to 60 in this car. I also think that this manual transmission is just not as entertaining as I would like. It's not quite as engaging. The clutch pedal is primarily the problem. The throws in this manual transmission are very short, as you can see, and the engagement is very definite, but the clutch pedal lets me down just a little bit. There's a little bit less feeling than I would like, and the engagement is actually quite far back there. That means that with the clutch pedal engaged and my foot on the throttle but not really pressing down on it, my feet aren't really at the same level. Of course, handling is what the F-Type is all about, and that is really where this model excels. It is an awful lot of fun, and the rear end gets very lively in the rear-wheel drive versions. Jaguar increases the braking ability of the F-Type with every trim, and of course by the time we get to the R model, we get the availability of carbon ceramic brakes, which make this thing stop on a dime. Actual braking distances in the model we're testing here came in at 101 feet from 60 to 0, which is just about the same as the Alfa Romeo 4C. That's 1,000 pounds lighter. The best thing about the F-Type, however, is just how predictable the handling in this vehicle is. It's very easy to drive this car quickly because the steering is very precise, it's very engaging, everything communicates very, very well with the driver. This car also has a very good weight balance to it, so it's not overly heavy in the rear like we see in the Porsche 911. Now, some people like that light front, heavy rear end feeling in the 911, but that's not really my preference. For 2016, pricing starts at $65,000 for the base model with the manual transmission. If you want the S model with the manual, that's $77,300. Now, it's not just the 40 horsepower upgrade that we get in the S model. We also get a limited slip differential, some braking upgrades, and a few other features on the car. The F-Type S all-wheel drive will set you back $84,800, and that does include the automatic transmission standard as well, and again, a few more options. The R version will set you back $103,600. Now, the most interesting thing about the F-Type pricing is that the convertible is only $3,100 over the base model or the S model or the S all-wheel drive. Now, if you get the R, it actually costs you a little bit less to bump from that coupe up to the convertible. Comparisons with the F-Type are a little bit tricky because there really aren't very many vehicles out there like this. Most two-door coupes are four-seat coupes. This means that we only have a few really direct comparisons. We have the BMW Z4 and the Mercedes-Benz SLK, and I would say those really compete more with the convertible version of this than the one we're taking a look at here. We of course have the Porsche 911, but the 911 is significantly more expensive than this. On the Audi side, I suppose you could compare this with an Audi S5 or an RS5, but again, those are four-seat vehicles. The Audi TT is considerably smaller, not the same kind of vehicle either, and it's significantly less expensive. Of course, the Audi R8 is yet again a different kind of vehicle. It is a two-door, two-seat vehicle, but it's also a mid-engine vehicle. The engine is right back here, not up front, and it is also significantly more expensive. It starts right around $115,000. When you're taking a look at the base or the S trims of the F-Type, I think that the Z4 and the SLK are probably the better comparisons right there. That would be the SLK 55 or the SLK 350. The SLK slots in very well with the F-Type. I think that value is really pretty equal, but the performance sort of interleaves itself with the F-Type. We get the SLK 350, and then we get the Jaguar F-Type, and then we get the F-Type S, and then we get the SLK 55, slightly better performing than what we're taking a look at here. When you take a look at it in that context, it really depends on how high your budget runs. BMW Z4 is probably the budget performance entry, both in the 35i and the 35is versions. In addition to being better looking, I think the handling and handling feel is better in the Jaguar as well. That really shouldn't surprise you because Jaguar has long had a very solid dedication to performance in their vehicles, and that extends beyond actually these sexy shapes that we're seeing now. At the top end of things, you could definitely compare the R to certain versions of the 911, but the R will definitely be the value option, going from about $103,000 to $130,000. You can actually get an almost fully loaded R model for about the starting price of a 911 with similar performance numbers. The same thing happens over there with the Mercedes GT AMG. Now, I think the GTS is a slightly better looking vehicle than the F-Type. It's a pretty close call in my mind. The AMG is also a little bit better performing, a little bit more exotic car feeling, definitely a little bit more exclusive. However, in terms of overall performance, it's actually not going to be very much different than the F-Type, and it's going to be significantly more expensive. So there you have it. If you're looking to save a little bit of money, get the Z4. If you want the sexiest car in this segment or the best handling, best performing vehicle in this segment, it's going to be the F-Type. And if you want the best performance bargain in this segment, oddly enough, it's going to be about $115,000, and it's going to be the F-Type R I think it would also be the convertible version. Thanks for taking a look at this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes with thetruthaboutcars.com, and this has been the 2016 Jaguar F-Type S. Go ahead and click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen and check out thetruthaboutcars.com daily for news, reviews, and more.